What is the most paranormal thing you've ever experienced? Posted 4 days ago. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. So I'm driving down the road with my ex in the passenger seat and my sister who's in the back. Mind you, I had nothing on my mind about ghosts. I've never believed in it until that day. To be honest, I still have no idea if what I saw was true. It's probably 3 p.m. on a cloudy afternoon, so as I'm taking this turn on the roundabout, I drive past a couple houses to my right and the hospital to my left. That's when I notice the family taking their groceries from their car to their house. As I see them doing this, there's this little girl in all white staring at me as I drive. The hairs on my neck start to stand up, and as I look into her eyes, all I see is black. I turn the car around without saying anything, and my ex and sister start to ask why we are turning around. I told them I need to see something again and tell them to look at where I see that little girl. I don't tell them what I saw because I wanted to be sure what I saw. As we get to the spot, I see nothing. Nothing white that would make me think I saw a mailbox or something because I was skeptical. I recreate the exact same scenario and I see nothing. To this day, I know I saw, and no one can tell me otherwise. Whenever I go back home, I take the same route just in case I see the same thing I saw that day. Sorry, I'm on mobile as I type this. I was alone doing laundry in the basement and a balled up sock whacked me in the center of my back. Nothing spooky, but definitely a WTF moment. I was walking in a park and a cyclist bike bell kept getting louder behind me. The path was big, so I didn't feel I needed to get out of the way. When the sound got too close, I jumped out of the way, but nothing was behind me. No one else in the park besides me I could see. I live in an old Sears house in rural Illinois from 2010 to 2013. I never had anything too spooky happen, but just unusual occurrences. You wouldn't hear footsteps or anything of that nature, but constantly get a strong feeling of being watched by something that almost didn't want you there. For example, I was up at 2 a.m. one morning and decided to walk into the kitchen to grab a snack. The moment I walked into the kitchen, I got a very overwhelming feeling that there was some entity in the corner of the room, even with the lights on. I grabbed the Oreos from the pantry and started right at that corner while I ate them. Right before I walked out of the room, I glared right at the corner and said, "Stop," and walked out. A little while later, I walked into the kitchen again and the feeling was gone. The only time I've had something move on me was actually in broad daylight about 11 a.m. I'm on the computer doing some work when a coin that was on the table literally just flipped into the air and onto the floor like someone was flipping a coin. At the same time, I felt a quick gust of wind, like someone moved their hand past my face. I just grabbed the coin and put it back without thinking. I didn't realize what happened till a while later. I talked to my dad about this some years later, and he's had the same feelings of being watched too. For example, walking through the yard from the pole barn to the house, he got the feeling he was being followed by something sinister, almost nightly. 2 things. I once saw a person in the corner of my eye during daylight who was not there when I turned to greet him. I was staying in a hotel and the bathtub faucet came on full blast in the middle of the night. It might not sound like a big deal, but it's a scary thing to wake up to in the dark. I do have a few, but there has been a couple at my old job. I had to go to the meeting room to set up. I closed the blinds and set up the projector and the hot drinks machine. I put the pointer pen out ready. I turned round to check the heating, turned back around to see that the pointer pen is missing. It's not a small thing, nor a big. I couldn't find it. I leave the room to see if I left the pen elsewhere, thinking I thought I placed it down, to find it in the hall leaning up against the wall. Second thing, same place. I was in the bathroom washing my hands to feel a light breeze and what felt like a flash of light in my eyes. I look up to see what I thought was a figure in the mirror. I turn round thinking it's a trick of the light. I walk out to grab my coat and see a handprint on my arm, smaller than my own, as if someone or something had grabbed my arm. That was weird though, I can't explain that one. I've heard voices in the office when I was on my own too. Strange. Not the most high-level scary, but annoying and recent. We recently brought my mother-in-law's ashes home until we can figure out what to do with her next. That's fine. We have my grandparents here too. Since we retrieved the box, we get whiffs of cigarette smoke though. She was a heavy-duty smoker, so I don't know if she's off-gassing, if that's possible, or just continuing to be post-mortem pain in the ass, but I'm not a fan. We just passed the year anniversary of her passing. I know we just brought her back and things aren't settled, but I really hate the smell of cigarette smoke. This one is tied in with my previous post about what happened to my wife and me in St. John, Caribbean. Anyway, my wife became seriously ill in 2014 and had to relearn standing and walking at a rehab. The night the ambulance brought her in, I was waiting for her arrival. I went up with my wife and the ambulance crew. I walked down to the nurse's station on that floor and was greeted by a really attractive, heavy-set Latino lady. I gave her my wife's name and she told me the room number. I told the ambulance crew and they took my wife into her room. The lady said to me, "You look really worried. Look, we're going to take good care of your wife and she is going to be fine. Why don't you say good night to her, go home and get some rest?" I said, "Okay, I think I'll do that. Let me ask, will you be here on Monday?" This was a Friday night. She said, "Yes, I'll be here. She is going to be fine." I went to my wife's room, told her about the nurse and kissed my wife goodnight. I also assured her that I would call her when I got home. I did just that. When she answered, we talked for a few minutes and I mentioned that nice nurse again. My wife said, "She's here and she'd like to speak with you." I said, "Sure, put her on the phone." The nurse said, "Mr. S, you need to calm down. If you just relax, your wife will relax. We're not going to let anything happen to her." I thanked her, said I was calming down, and said goodnight. I visited my wife Saturday and Sunday. On Monday, I went back to the center and approached the nurse's station. The lady wasn't there. I asked the attending nurse when the nurse who was there on Friday would be returning. The nurse asked me to describe the lady again. I did. She said, "Mister, nobody like that works here." I said, "Of course she does." She welcomed me and even talked to me on the phone from my wife's room. The nurse said, "Look, I was on duty Friday night. I'm sorry I couldn't be here when you checked in, but we were really busy." She said again, "I don't know who you spoke with, but nobody like that works here." I swear that woman looked normal, no see-through or anything like that. My wife was fine, came home, and after a lot of physical therapy, learned to stand and walk again. We still don't know who or what that lady was, but we sure needed her that night. I was on vacation to St. John's Island. We were staying at an Airbnb. In the middle of the night, there were footsteps in the hall. The owner had left for the night, and there were no other people staying. They locked the main door so no one broke in. I did not open the door. I visited a Renaissance castle from the 1500s, and I saw a human shadow figure, or how those are called, pass through a doorway to the outer wall facing the moat. I immediately sprinted to where it was just seconds away, but there was no one and the field of view was wide enough to rule out running away. It really looked like the black silhouette of a person, and it was daytime, not spooky time. After I finished listening to an H.P. Lovecraft story audiobook one time, all the text on my applications on my computer went blank. I tried to fix it, but I had to restart it, and that fixed the issue. The story I was listening to was The Whisperer in the Dark, by the way. Probably the time me and a few friends are sitting in a lounge with the fireplace on, then instantly the room goes cold and we all look at each other like, WTF? Check the whole house for open windows or doors and even the loft hatch open, but nothing. Still to this day, it has me wondering what the fuck happened. I have three main ones that have stuck with me since my childhood. I was around 5 to 7 years old. I was in our living room when I started to feel raindrops on me. Keep in mind, we were indoors, no windows were open, sunny outside, and I was in the middle of the room, so even if it was raining, it wouldn't hit me. I was playing with toys as well. I saw holes in the ceiling and told my mom. I cried so much out of fear. My mom had to take me outside. I thought it was only one time it happened, but my mom later on told me it was 3 consecutive days. On the third day, I told my mom that the landlord had fixed the holes in the ceiling. I can probably explain this because growing up I had shown signs of depression, and now that I'm older I'm diagnosed with MDD and some other things. I think I had a hallucination, but part of me doesn't think that's true. Then like a few days before we moved out, I was on my bed and my sister had left her binder on the other side of the other bed. I had intensely been staring at me. I didn't even realize I was until later, when it flung open like someone had opened it. There was no wind. I was by myself in the room, and I was all the way across from it. I ran to my mom and cried. Last one. When I was around 4, my mom was doing my hair in the dining room. The dining room faced the bathroom and living room, and then there was a hallway leading to the rooms. Then I saw this tall figure walking into the bathroom. Me being 4, I wasn't scared, but my mom was. She ran to the bathroom and came back saying, "There was nothing there." Now that I'm older, it terrifies me. I wasn't the only one in my family who had an encounter with the shadow figure. All I remember is that it was a man. I was once sitting at history class and had a massive deja vu. I turned to my friend and asked him if we already had this lesson before. He said we didn't. I started citing what the teacher was about to say for about 30 seconds. It was absolutely crazy. I think it's because our teacher had a very unique way of speaking.